It's 3 o'clock, and can I start by saying namaskar to all of you. Thank you for being here, especially faculty and students of colleges and universities who are present here. I'll keep my introduction pretty brief. I wish to acknowledge the presence of Dr. Akhilesh Arora of DTU, and DTU is therefore present in some reasonable numbers today in order to listen to an extremely wonderful person called Dr. Raval, who is a limnologist. I'm not going to tell you what a limnologist is, who after 60, that was in 1967, in 1973, he does his PhD, acquires what I call permanent head damage with his PhD. And then eventually, over the next 30 years, does some extremely interesting things, including working with industry. His knowledge on pumps and sizing and head and all that is also fascinating. Apart from, of course, his understanding of the science of water. He's worked both on rural projects and on urban projects. Well, today's session is a complete departure, if I may say so, from the regular presentations that we have from distinguished speakers. And that's because I have the privilege of knowing Dr. Raval, and we have had extensive discussions on what he should present on this extremely critical and important aspect of urbanization and of all human beings, whether they are in urban or rural fronts, of sanitation. The one thing that leaves many of us wondering after any presentation that we listen to when we listen to online or offline conversations or presentations is, how do we ensure that there is some action that is pursued on the lines of what the expert has had to offer that afternoon or evening like today? How do we reach the story? This is another question that we have had at PJMT and in various other forums. How do we reach the story if it is interesting and as significant to our lives as this one is going to be, to many more people who are not part of sessions of this kind, as they are not today? We have only about 30-odd people. Typically, we have about 70 to 80 people who join such sessions of the PJMT Distinguished Lecture Series. I have, when I first invited Dr. Raval about 2 months ago, I think, he first said yes, of course, with alacrity. He never even hesitated, of course, God bless him. And then what is interesting is that he's done some multiple versions of the presentation that you will see today. Each time he would make a presentation, he would run it by me, like a child with great glee and excitement, and with no ego whatsoever. He would spend several hours on such a presentation, and all that mattered to him was this one intent of knowing how to make it interesting enough for people to want to not just listen, but also to want to engage with him after today's session. And that is what he has spent time upon, I would reckon, the last, say, 40 to 50 days. And so, to all faculty leaders, students, members of faculty who are present here, industry leaders who have joined in, to all of you, my urge is this: please make your notes or reflect on them. He will be sometimes, and this is like a statutory warning on a cigarette packet, he will be sometimes heavy on the chemistry of water. Don't mind that. He will himself explain to you how simple it is. He will actually be raising more questions than he will answer. He will talk of solutions to wastewater, sanitation, and management of such things, as well as treatment, of course, that may seemingly, prima facie, seem impractical. He will talk about how all existing wastewater treatment systems are obsolete. Seriously, that they are obsolete and of no use at all. He will talk of microbes and recent understanding of science post-2010 that has opened entirely new possibilities of how to manage wastewater and therefore sanitation. His solutions, you will see as you listen to him, are not at all prescriptive. They are only recommendatory. You must remember that he is first a water scientist. Dr. Raval is the first, perhaps, to accept that empirical science needs proof and demonstration. That any science needs debate, discussion, and further research, and of course, validation before we take it to the mainstream. Ravalji hopes that after he presents to you all, that you will have questions and not just questions. Maybe you will provoke him into offering you all and to each one of us more insights, more thoughts, more ideas, or even possibly responses from you where you want to take that rare opportunity to work with him and document and create solution frameworks for such new directions in wastewater management that our cities need, our villages need, the world needs. Ravalji actually, needs about 3 days and 6 hours a day, perhaps as workshops go, to explain to you many of the things he knows so well. But he is presenting in maybe 30 minutes, 35 minutes, in the hope that it will lead to more engagement with you all as teachers first, and then as students who are genuinely interested in cities and in sanitation, no matter who you are. You could be an engineer, a budding engineer, an architect, you could be an MBA student, you could be an urban planner, environment planner, regional planner. All of you who are trained in these disciplines will be perhaps impacted by what he has to offer. He wrote to me yesterday saying that the act of doing the daily business of shitting, if you'll excuse me for saying that, is the most natural and yet the most embarrassing for most of us. So, well, we don't want to talk about it. We don't like to talk about defecating. And therefore, there is not enough discussion on managing fecal waste. I might also add that he has been a regular attendee at PJMT sessions. Every time we have any PJMT session, you can be sure that Dr. Raval has been there. When he speaks, he does so with a very measured pace. He's clear, he's coherent, he's concise. With that as my initial notes, I now invite Dr. Akhilesh Arora of DTU to offer some welcome remarks of his own kind, whatever he wants to. He was telling us just before the session started that he will want to present possibly an introduction to Dr. Raval. And I was suggesting to him that he should possibly talk as a teacher, as a shaper of young minds, as an influencer of young minds, in ways that we make this session a lot more interesting and, stokes your anticipation. Thank you so much. Over to you, Akhilesh ji.
Thank you, Dr. Hariharan. So first of all, I would like to tell you about Dr. Hariharan, Dr. Raval. Welcome, Dr. Upendra Raval ji. You are also known by the name Munib Bhai. You are a distinguished academician and environmentalist, and he has more than 30 years of experience with water systems and water waste management.
Yeah.
He holds a PhD in zoology. His doctoral research explored functional anatomy and avian biology. He has widely lectured and engaged with design and engineering schools across India over 12 years. Since 2016, he is engaged with SVNIT Surat as a visiting professor, where he teaches students of MTech urban planning, exploring 21st century urban planning, water and wastewater engineering. So this presentation at Prem Jain Memorial Distinguished Lecture Series emphasizes the need to examine the future of sanitation and treatment of black and grey water. He reflects upon the parallels between human body and ecological systems like rivers, wetlands, estuaries, lakes, and oceans. He will critically question you and the existing sewage system and sanitation models and the need to evolve them further in decentralized manner in order to achieve a closed loop ecosystem. So this was a brief introduction of him, but I would like to students and as well as the faculty members or the researchers who are present here, that they should listen to his lecture very carefully, because he is going, I hope that this would be a very interesting lecture. You might not have heard some such type of things earlier actually, and probably you would be able to gain a lot of knowledge regarding the waste management system, or rather I would say it's a novel waste management system or ecological type of waste management system. So now I would request Dr. Upendra Raval to start his lecture.
Right. And before Ravalji speaks, let me acknowledge the presence of people, some very distinguished people. Dr. Panir Selvam from Chennai is present here today to listen to Dr. Raval. Dr. Selvam is himself a person who has worked for perhaps 50 years now on city water management in Chennai. Very dear friend of another person called UV Krishna. Payal, you and I spoke about UV Krishna yesterday. And UV Krishna is also here. Let me acknowledge his presence too. There is Chandra of Watson, which is water sanitation. He's been doing some inspiring work on offering low-cost, low-energy purifiers, water purifiers. Another interesting person who is, who needs to be listened to. Someday we will invite him, perhaps. Then there is Mr. Vijay Kanda from Hyderabad. Thank you, Vijay, for being here. Over to you, Ravalji. The floor is yours for maybe 30, 35 minutes, whatever time you want to take. Your objective is clear, and I wish you my very best to you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. First of all, I would apologize to the young generation. Because we failed in protecting our home, the planet. And for this occasion, I am really indebted to Prem Jain Memorial Trust for allowing me to be here. Can we keep the screen on for some time so that I can see some faces, please? Yeah, good. So, Dr. Hari has rightly said embarrassing, but I have a review at it. The word sheet is not embarrassing. The word sheet comes from a story I'll tell you, that in earlier times, the sewage was transported in ships. And the dried cake duly wrapped in jute box were preserved in the hull of the ship. And it used to take a month or two and whatever, taking the whole ship to some other places. So sometimes something is required. A worker will enter the hull of the ship with a lantern. The lantern was carrying a flame. And all of a sudden, the ship would catch a fire and the whole ship would be blown out. So once that methane area was understood, all those boxes had to be carrying a paste, a label, stow high in transit. That is how the word sheet comes from. It is the ignorance about sheet that makes us more embarrassing. And that ignorance is universal for the human species. There is no exception. I have nothing to add much today because everybody is familiar with the subject. Everybody is familiar with the stinking cities. Everybody is familiar with pandemics and epidemics. Everybody is familiar with contaminated water. Then RO and water purifiers. I grew up in a village where we used to go to a lake or a river and take water and gulp it. I'm sitting in front of you. So contamination is not nature of water. It is something we did. And therefore, I request you, I'm going to make a lot of disagreementary statements with conventional practices. And I would request you to question me, why do I believe that, or where I have gone wrong? Because it is the right type of question that will take us to the unknown. We talk about known is marketing. Here we are not for marketing. We are here to learn, not to even impress anyone. We are here to learn on this platform. And I am really enjoying and feel lucky and honored to be here. So Hariji, you will have to help me. How do I bring my...
Share your slides and go ahead with it. Share your slides.
The controls are with you, sir. You can share your screen.
Yeah, you can share your slides. Share your screen, Raji.
Okay. So...
We can see it, yes.
Put them on view mode, Raji, and get on with it. You can start.
I don't know which file I have opened. There are 2-3 files.
That I wouldn't know. You have to know.
Yes.
Okay. Just put it
Can-
on
can-
tube mode, Raval.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Sorry.
Now, David Suzuki, he's one of the rarest hydrologists on this planet. He gave us a global constant about water. In total volume of water, if frozen in form of an ice cube, be it groundwater, cloud, ocean, freshwater, etc., any, even moisture, if frozen, each face, each side of the cube would be 1120 kilometers. Now, these are areas and data known to you, so I'll not go about. The total available water is 0.34% of the capital. Capital is ice cube. And that includes all the living forms on this planet, not just Homo sapiens. And now we talk about Supreme Court passing this circular, this and that, and of course, our national building code and everything. But river, ecological river demand or requirement has not been addressed. Now, we cannot discuss water, for that matter, any part of the nature in isolation, because nature is operating not as a monoculture. Now, all this vegetation, warming, sewage, water, everything have a hub. And that hub is grossly neglected. And it is the hub that controls the secret of the total stability of the planet. And that hub is soil. Now, what is soil? It is a load-bearing component. If you want a 10-story building or a bungalow, then this is the nature and strength. That's a very primitive way of. Now, soil microbes are primed to consume greenhouse gases. This part of the soil importance is not well understood. And nature does not know waste or disposal. The whole story of life journey revolves around soil to night soil. Now, what is soil and what is night soil? Soil goes to night soil because we get food from soil. And that food is converted into feces, which is in medical terms very aptly described as night soil. And that is photosynthesis, agriculture. But nature is not linear. Nature is regenerative and follows a complete loop system. And that is sewage science. From food to feces and feces back to the soil. That entire mechanism runs much deeper, but that falls under sewage science. And these changes or conversions, no external agency is required, not even water. Modern sewage system uses water as a liquid carriage. It's a flawed design. Then air, no chemicals, no supervisor, no infrastructure. Nature is in autonomous mode. I just want you to give you some details of how the soil and night soil operate. Suppose soil has Jain library of all capital AAABBB, you can go up to XYZ. And night soil has suppose small letters. I'm talking about the genetic code. And none of them in isolation is equipped to strike a balance. Suppose if we take sewage and treat it with a soil which is autoclaved, sterilized, we don't get the result. When these two mix, we have a new genetic message, new DNA, new code available, which has all small and capital letters. Don't worry about the DNA and gene and all that. But I just want to tell you, because something has capital A, small a, then capital B, small b, then small c, capital C, D, etc., which neither soil nor night soil had. Now, this is a very important part of the slide, because this is the modern genomic tools. All our BOD, COD, dissolve, TSS, etc., they are obsolete. They talk about the physical condition of the water, but not about the microbes engaged in the process. In the microbes engaged in the process are 3.5 billion years old. The bigger problem is they are not culturable in isolation. Whatever public health connected with sewage science is because of the pathogens. Pathogens are undesirable, but they are culturable. They can be cultivated in isolation under ideal conditions, and they can be studied in laboratory. For example, what are these metagenomic tools? If I go to Bangalore, and with 12, 13 million population, if I want to say woe, my laboratory condition cannot tell me. My BOD, COD cannot tell me. But there are certain specific probes which will tell me that in Bangalore, this is woe. Then I have another probe and ask for, I want to see Dr. Hari. Then that probe will take me straight to Dr. Hari without disturbing the entire Bangalore city. I don't have to condition it to fit my experiment. I have to see the whole system in nature, in situ, as it is. Now, this is another part of the soil I want to explain. And this soil, which is mainly clay, is present even at the bottom floor of Pacific and Atlantis. I don't go into the formula of that. And we are talking about RO and this and that. That kills water. Period. It's not debatable. And 1 gram of soil holds microbial DNA that would cover 1,598 kilometers when unfolded. This part of microbial characteristics have not been discussed or even touched by the textbook. Now that takes me to this. I take sewage as excel of civilization. And if the excel is gone, the whole wheel balance is lost. And that is what happened in the pandemic. Now, why this happens? Repeated pandemics are urban in origin because they are on a flawed path. Now you'll have to engage with me and throw me questions back as soon as you feel some point of disagreement with me. Thank you. Don't wait for the final part of question answer. Thank you. Now, this is Mohenjo-daro. Same thing with Babylon, which is present Iraq, or Ebruscans, that was Italy of today. All the population then managed a huge duct where sewage would be dumped and ultimately left to an unwanted place or address. Now that bigger duct is technically called cloaca maxima. And we are still in that 3,000-year-old system. Bigger the population, bigger water volume, bigger wastewater, bigger pipe diameter, distance the STP more distant, bigger the diameter. Therefore, bigger the water volume, and therefore water crisis. So we, on a water surplus planet, we are facing water crisis. And to do all that, we need energy. So in a beautifully perfect solar energy on this planet, we are facing energy deficit. So where have we gone wrong? Or are we on the right path? And we are facing the problem. At 8 billion, how are we going to address the issues for 10 billion? This is cloaca maximum. And this is the Sockwell of Mohenjo-daro. Shakti Bhatt sent me these slides, and I am thankful to him for this. And this is Indus civilization. In the past is always glorified, never appreciated, and then glorified. Either way. This is Sir Joseph Bazalgette, Joseph Williams Bazalgette, who designed the first duct, sewer duct. And then London, the stinking city of London, the stink of London, if you send the command, you will see all this. And then public gave this picture that the entire sewer duct is holding Sir Joseph from his neck. And London, even today, is no better. All cities, when I say this, I'm not having any particular city in mind. All cities transfer their sewage, and transfer is disguising the treatment. Transfer is not treatment. So this is a human body. We take food, for example, at my age, 100 units of nutrient. The nutrient pass through the gut, and 60 units are absorbed by my body. Why 60 absorbed? Because 60 units my body loses during its normal working, including sleep. As long as I live, I lose some units. In 100 out of 60, so 40 units are thrown out, undigested, unaltered, untreated. The 60 bodies that my body loses, 60 units. So it makes 100. So in scientific terms, nutrient value of food and feces are same. But this feces that we throw out, the colon throws out some pathogens, and the entire human population is worried about the pathogen. And therefore, we have microbiology and microbiology for pathogen culture and treatment. But there are so many microbes available in our colon, our large intestine, that they hold the secret of balancing the planet. Now, after elimination of pathogens, the rest of the 100 units should go to the soil so that next crop will come and we'll have more food. Now, if we break this cycle, the soil nutrient bank is diminished, farmers commit suicide, and urban planning is responsible for farmers' suicide. What we do? These nutrients and sewage, they go to STP, either in form of sludge or race of the water, it goes to the river, and there's the sea. Sea and all that may disturb the environment, and we have eutrophication. And eutrophication is independent of the fresh flush of effluents. So sewage science is not about just public health, it is about the planet health as well. Now, these are all normal, typical plants, what is practiced. Now, the return activated sludge is taken back to the point of entry as seeds. Now, what are the seeds? Nobody talks. It is gravitationally influenced sedimental material. That's all the engineers try to appreciate. Now, these seeds are common for all the 4 processes, activated sludge, it can be SBR, MBR, MBBR, whatever. And all, whatever that comes out is fed back to the cycle again. But the seeds that scientists rely upon so heavily and spent billions of dollars and trillions of liters. They are non-colonic. They have nothing to do with my colon or the material that I throw out. And what are the seeds? They are bacteria, amoeba, paramecium, rotifers, worms, tardigrades. They have nothing to do with my health or your health or colon or CV. It is pure hardware focus, wedded to sedimentation. There is pure physical part that is taken into account. And these organisms have no role in BOD reduction. Entire sewage textbook world is dedicated to BOD CO2, which is hugely irrelevant to microbial role in organic degradation. I have already said that because these seeds are DO breathers, and there is no DO breather in our colon. Our colon is anoxic. The microbes that are operating in my colon or everybody, all animals' colon, they are anoxic, and they came on this planet 3.5, 3.8 billion years ago. Oxygen came on the planet 2.2, 2.3 billion years ago. So before 2 billion years ago, there were no aerobic bacteria because atmosphere did not have anything like oxygen. Or if there were aerobic bacteria, what were they in absence of atmospheric oxygen? So aerobic and anaerobic confusion is another part the sewage engineers need to be very clear about. Now seeds, what if the seed selection is flawed? And it is, in my view. You are welcome to Met Cafe and Ronald and everyone that I textbook I've read, they are talking about paramecia, worms, tardigrades. They are not part of my body. These worms came 3, 4, 5 million years ago, not beyond. Now, if seed material is flawed, I'll explain the seed material for the non-technical member. Suppose if I want to prepare curd, I take milk in vessel and add a spoonful of starter, which is curd. But that starter, if right, it will convert the whole vessel of milk into curd. But if I put honey into the milk vessel, even after 10 days, I will not have dahi, curd. So the seed has to be right. Second part, this is pure physics. I'm not talking about microbes or genomics or anything. If you search solubility of oxygen in water or Met Cafe, page number 450, I can tell you because I have been repeating this, I know it without looking at it, that oxygen is not soluble or very insoluble. And aeration energy cost is 60 to 75% on aeration. Then we talk about energy deficit. God bless us all. And if this seed part is wrong, the entire return of activated sludge step becomes irrelevant, unscientific. It only adds to our expenditure and poverty. So how do we go about wastewater treatment? All I want to tell you is, then when we go to a restaurant, order soup, soup is prepared separately. If I order lassi, lassi is prepared separately with different raw material. Somebody asks for coffee or tea, that is a different line of processing. Cloaca maxima, one single economic decision taken 5,000 years ago is taking us on a wrong route because one pipe takes everything. How do you have coffee? How do you have lassi? How do you have soup? If prepared from one vessel which contains the raw material of all the final dishes. And then you ask a cook to separate things and give me soup or give Hariji coffee like that. This is never going to happen. So gray water is low in organic mass. Organic matter load is very negligible. Gray water has no pathogens. And there is not a single epidemic or pandemic arising from gray water in last 5,000 years of history. So when we talk about epidemic, public health, and pandemic, gray water contribution is zero. But gray water we cannot hold for more than 1 day. I have shown here 20 hours because there will be some leftover and short circuit. Now that gray water that passes further, it should be joined by black water, which is a septic tank treatment. And sewage is high in pathogen, high in organic mass, and septic tank should have solid retention time of 20 days. Now, septic tank is a reactor, the black box, and it is the secret tales of 3.5 billion years of microbes on this planet, with their genomic expression maintained intact today. A microbe in my colon, large intestine, expresses itself today, expressed itself the same way 3.5 billion years ago. Human species, Homo sapien, came 5 million years ago. So you can see the difference. Now, this SFS solid-free sewer should emerge as an effluent of septic tank after 20 days of retention, and that has to go through electrocoagulation, and electrocoagulation is about nascent chlorine generation unit, which is 3 times more potential than other gas chlorine and liquid chlorine equipments. Now, if that goes with the discharge of sewer, gray water, and it can be joined with oil and grease. Now, again, oil and grease is 5-day retention because it is average organic load, but no pathogen. Now, why I am talking all these separately? Because some preparation takes 5 days for FOG, oil and grease. Some preparation takes 20 days. Some preparation takes 20 hours. And we mix all of them and then ask them to pump out within 3 hours because the next batch of sewage is coming. All that we have mixed up under one common pipeline. And that is why we are facing the problem. Now that liquid, not solid waste, liquid waste can go to constructed wetland, and the wetland inlet velocity should be 1 foot per hour, 0.3 meter per hour. All sewage lines are designed on auto cleansing velocity. Auto cleansing velocity is destructive. We will see that. Now, after constructed wetland, whatever emerges can be taken for any services. Now, nature does not repeat experiments along new path. What has been proved, what has been established as a science, as a principle, nature mimics it, duplicates it, producing all the diversity. Now you take the hill, Kailas or Gangaji coming from the hilltop, and this is our human God. I am comparing human body with river. So the top part of my gut, which is esophagus, I take food and gulp it down. That is what happens on the river, hillside. There is no reaction. It is pure washout and erosion. High velocity zone, least productive, no digestion, no organic degradation. Of course, organics will be washed out along with the fall and other areas. Now, this is the estuary, which is part of the column. In biochemical and microbial terms, there is no difference in these two structures, be it estuary, delta, or rectum. These are low velocity zone, high degradation, closing the loop part of the nature's behavior. The methane generation starts here. Nitrous oxide comes here. And then denitrifiers give us sequestered nitrogen. Now, these bacteria are so small, slow dividing that they take time to express themselves. STPs world over have nitrous oxide emission 8 times that of the estuary or paddy or even dam. Reverse or column. Organic degradation follows the second law of thermodynamics, which is entropy from higher energy level molecules to lower energy. So minerals to molecules and molecules to back. Molecules to back is sewage. Minerals to molecule is photosynthesis. Now here I am comparing a septic tank which must mimic human column. So from river to human body, we go to septic tank to human body. These are all inlet and all flow of the liquids along this. It gives us SFS. I'll show you what SFS means. If septic tank does not recognize colon ecology and colon anatomy, there is no way any septic plant on this planet can give you the result in a sustainable manner. So mimic column in a septic tank design, that is the answer. So septic tank should be an extension of human colon so that incomplete functions can be carried out there. You call it STP, you call it septic tank, whatever, but no deviation from the large intestine. Now what happens inside the black box? That is what I am trying to show you here. So high organic molecule, multiple carbon molecules, which is known as FIST, member of sewage engineering are familiar with this term, where the pH is in the acidic range. See the pH change, molecular change, carbon number. In the last part, we have extreme famine, and there is a huge predatory behavior in the microbes. They eat up most of the pathogens. Now, this is extreme predation zone from fish to famine. That gives us solid free sewer. Now, if we conducted an experiment, I wanted to put up a solar plant with to provide a heating to kill even the remaining bacteria or pathogens, but COVID, it was not possible. Now, first compartment should take 9 days of retention, second 7 days, third 5 days. Now, this number of days of holding is possible only if we restrict the wastewater volume. Cloaca maxima does not permit that. Bigger conduit does not permit that. I'll just repeat the whole thing to take you to a next slide. So SFS, this part belongs to the previous slide. And this is green is not about color or wavelength. It is a regenerative mass transfer of natural resources, a result of microbial symphony. Minimal capex, opex, no operator, no energy, and no forming. There is no phosphorus. Phosphorus is heavier than one specific gravity. So with such a long retention time, the phosphate molecules become part of the sludge in the septic. Now with this basics clear, the septic tank 21-day retention mimics that. It goes to SFS, SFS goes to wetland. Okay. Wetland is not about a body of water. It's again a different, reactor with different nature, where we come across a phenomenon called blue carbon. Now, what is blue carbon? The blue carbon is the rhizome part of the wetland vegetation, which has sulfur to nitrogen balance in the ratio of 1:37. There is no nitrous oxide coming out of this because nitrous oxide is already, nitrogen is sequestered and nitrogen sink is provided in form of a rhizome. So activated sludge process members have sulfur nitrogen ratio of 1:16. This is 1:36, 37. So whatever its size, a small drop, a puddle, a small body. In name of revenue collection, our urban bodies have collected money and we destroyed them. Now, nitrous oxide is a weapon of mass destruction. We all 8 billion produce. And every day, it's not an occasional manufacturing. Landslide is natural, landfill is not, it is man-made. And all government authorities or engineers and planners and city administration must accept this because or you change the nature of nature. So the earlier water flow SFS I said was about 150 senior citizen home. That you can take it as a society. Many such societies coming together give us a small eco village. And then eco village has an outlet of SFS. Now each small circle is another group cluster of villages. Then villages, from there we go to town, city and mega city. You start with a house, one family, then with 10 family or 20 family society, be it a horizontal bungalow scheme or a multi-story sewage. There is nothing like urban sewage and rural sewage. If I'm hungry at Dr. Hari's place, sitting in a city, is it urban hunger? And when go out with him in a village side, it is village hunger. Nature has no geographic differentiation. So shorten the distance between waste generation and treatment. That is where the entire planet ecosystem balance comes from. You refer to Richard Foreman and other Ian McHarg and John Tillman, and they all talk about this. Fact is, we will have to bring all experts together. So from a village to town to cities to mega city, it's pure scaling up, provided the basics are right. So this is the sample of the same Shakti Bhatt had taken it from that pipe discharge I have shown you. That is 20-day retention time, no chemical, no power, no attendant. Now SFS, solid free sewer, clear water in engineering terms, is an outcome of complex microbial symphony and not just sedimentation. That is a layman's approach to sewage treatment. And the future of sewerage, as I see and many learned scientists have predicted, is above the ground. Because today, you take any textbook, it says the drainage and sewerage pipeline life is 30 years. Show me one city world over where after 30 years the pipeline are replaced and new pipelines are laid. In my nearly 78 years of observation, I have not heard of any city, be it Tokyo, New York, Washington, London, Singapore, or Surat. Now, on the left, we have the pathogen cultivated from the SFS. You can see some bubbles which are colonies, pathogen colonies, not necessarily pathogen. I would call it bacterial colony. And E. coli is not a pathogen. Try to understand, please. the entire sewage treatment gone wrong on a separate path because E. coli has a life cycle of 18 minutes, 20. Here we are talking about microbes which take 3, 4, 6 weeks to multiply and do the process. So whatever little microbial population we had on the right, we passed it through electrocoagulation equipment. And you see no colony. I put a matchstick just to show you the size of the petri dish that some of the engineers or laymen may not be familiar. So sewage treatment plants are anaerobic reactors. Design them to mimic human colony. And what is the, these are the take-home points. First, excess water renders microbial enzymes ineffective. You don't allow the microbes to function and then claim my STP is working. That's not science. So cut down on water volume. Possible only if distance D is reduced between the point of generation and point of treatment. So every colony or society should have a septic tank of its own nearby. Second is eliminate aeration. Aeration is pure drain on our pocket and it harms the planetary environment in the sense that through the aeration, whatever the aerosols liberated, they carry viruses, and once they are in the cloud, viruses can come back on the land anywhere on the continent. Now, allow retention time that microbes require. Not my tank is full with their previous liquid, so I have to empty it. That's not the way to do the treatment. From glory to dust to deluge. Water illiteracy is at the base. All climate related issues manifest through water. So it is soil is being covered with impervious material, either houses or factories or roads or asphalt or stone laying and pavement and everything. The soil rain contact is severe. So the soil water evaporates into the cloud. And these atmospheric rivers are born, which are transcontinental. The cloud appearing on the Surat can rain in Africa, can rain anywhere on this planet. And therefore, the aerosols will also be taken with that. The ground rivers do not offer you the same risk which cloud rivers. Now, when it comes back, water is not like methane or carbon dioxide. Methane goes up, comes back, converted into carbon dioxide, comes back as apple that Newton showed us. Water goes up as water, maybe gaseous form, and it comes back as water in liquid form. And that is where I found I was trying to connect our mythological this thing with our modern science learning.
Ravalji, a quick step in to say you have another 5 to 7 minutes so that we can encourage discussion.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm almost coming to an end.
Thank you.
So, Shiva, in my view, was the hydrologist, environmental scientist, ecologist, geophysicist of highest order mankind has known. So once the cloud come down, they funnel down and in form of Jaldhara, he received Gangaji. And Jaldhara is forest cover of the hills, reducing the albedo effect. Then he is also known as Nilkant and holds snakes around his neck. Now, what is Nilkant? They are cyanotoxins. It is blue-green alga that we call, they are not algae, they are bacteria. And this is how the artist depiction conveying the highest level of scientific message. This is carbon dioxide. This is atmospheric vapor, and this is temperature, the hockey curve. The hockey stick curve temperature is due to increase in water content. Now each drop comes back, moist the soil. This is a microclimate. Each drop plus its small soil. A small partnership is formed. That rivulet, everything can go to lake and everything. But the ocean goes up to the atmospheric river because ocean receives all its fresh water from the surface. Entire urban flood mitigation approach is hugely flawed because we are providing a mirror, a glass surface, so that every drop will run down like a marble. I am only enlarging this microclimate as a wetland, as an homeostatic organ of the planet. This is that bigger one I have shown you. All this water hyacinth and aquatic vegetation, each vegetation has a different role for different contamination. There are submerged, there are emerging, they are floating and all that. And all of them have blue carbon. Rhizome is common to them. Now, UNICEF is talking about feeding 10 billion. They are worried. I am worried about sewage from 10 billion because that's also a reality. Now, kleptoplasty is another phenomenon. This is a garden slug, which once it eats a green leaf, it does not need food for the rest of its life. Because once chlorophyll is ingested, it is RT-PCR, reverse transcriptase phenomena takes over, and his body starts manufacturing chlorophyll, and the whole animal turns into green, and that green animal behaves like a green leaf. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ravji. Let me turn to Dr. Arora first.
How do I bring down my...
At the bottom, if you move your cursor, you will find a red stop screen. Stop screen at the bottom of your screen. Yeah, there you are. Let me start with Akhilesh ji, and then I'll move to Dr. Awadhesh and Robin Chauhan.
Sir, we have, if I may pitch in,
Yes.
we have Shambhavi Mishra and Archita, who
That's
are the
right.
green ambassadors of PJMT.
Yeah.
And we also have Robin Chauhan, who is a program chair, Delhi chapter of ISHRE. And also we have Pooja Gupta.
Wonderful. We will invite each of them to offer their take, starting with Akhilesh ji. Go on, please. He's not there. He's just okay. Dr. Awadhesh, can I turn to you? Maybe you can turn on your video and offer your point. Yes, please. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Wonderful session that I have listened by Dr. Raval, sir. And I add something that some students of my supervision, they have in this session, they have on project of grey water. So this session is especially beneficial for us, and I will continue to work on this field. As Raval sir is suggested that the future is on this. So
Wonderful.
I'm very thankful to all of you organizing this beautiful session.
Wonderful. If there is one single take that we heard from Ravalji today, every person who has got a home or an apartment or whatever must have a septic tank, keep the sludge here, and then, as he says, solid free sewer send out. If you don't want to treat it, better that you treat the solid free sewer separately is all he's saying, right? And
Yes.
it's a very no cost, very little cost. You get your money back in no time, in less than 1 year. So each of you should practice that. And I will introduce you, Awadhesh, to our Ravalji. so that some of your students can work with him. And let's see how we can popularize this whole thing in a way that India gains. Thank you. Robin Chauhan, your take, please. Robin? Can you turn on your video, say hello to us? Okay. Yeah, yes.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Appreciate you are turning on the video. Yes, we can hear.
Okay. First of all, thank you very much to.
Are you on a smartphone and so you don't want to turn on your video? We'd like to look at your face also. Don't mind.
He's traveling.
Never mind. Never mind. Go on. Yes, please. Yes, please.
So I was listening to, the whole part of this, and I'm like in my day in, day out of my business, I keep on hearing all those words.
Oh, yeah.
All these treatment plants, wetlands, electrocoagulation. So I'm very much familiar with all these, and but some of the points which are very new to me also. One thing which I would like to ask with Dr. Raval Sahab was just like at some part of his presentation, he was advocating of eliminating aeration. What is use of electrocoagulation systems? Which I believe like electrocoagulation systems consume more power than aeration. I'm 100% in sync with like using sewers treated at the place of origination. So that's okay, though my business is on the different part. But in this like aeration versus electrocoagulation, can you just highlight, like, because I consider this part.
One is not a substitute for the other. Try to understand. Aeration is done for mixing MLSS and aerobic relation, aerobic bacteria. That is not chlorination. I have used electrocoagulation because some of the members staying here are attached to a hospital. Right. And there are all the chances that I didn't want to take a chance with a hospital establishment.
Now, Ravalji, if it is regular biological contamination, residential or offices, what would you recommend?
You can do away with the electrocoagulation.
Exactly.
Because I gave you soil and night soil genomic combination. That takes care. Otherwise, if pathogens were that frequent, thousands of wildebeest and elephants and animals on migration, we would have been dead long ago. We would never have come this far.
Ravin Chauhan, your response?
Still, sir, but then suppose if you are using an anoxic tank just before an aeration, the requirement of aeration itself becomes too low.
Aeration is not required, sir. Why aeration? My colon has no air. Suppose when I eat food or gulp water, I gulp atmospheric air. And the human fart contains oxygen to the degree of maximum 4%, which is the oxygen of air gulped down. It is thrown out unaltered.
That is one. Ravin Chauhan, the other is how many STPs have got anoxic tanks? They don't have.
That's not my problem, sir. They are not built along the scientific path, period. And therefore, all cities smell, not Bangalore.
No,
not Surat.
You're right, Ravji. So, Ravin Chauhan, back to you. Anoxic tanks are not part of regular features if you're doing an SBR or MBR or MBBR, right? That is the problem. And then they have aeration. They have their agitated tanks and quantum of energy, since you're an expert. Okay. Anything you want to add?
I just want to add, sir.
Yes, please.
Normal wastewater gases produced in wastewater are ammonia, sulfur dioxide, and hydrogen sulfide. Now, if we see the comparable solubility of these gases with oxygen,
okay.
Hydrogen sulfide is 80 times more soluble than atmospheric oxygen.
Okay.
Sulfur dioxide is 270 times more soluble. And ammonia is 12,000 times more soluble. Do you mean to say a GT of aeration will throw out the elephant of ammonia?
Okay.
Plain physics.
Yeah, sure. You want to respond, Chauhan? Shall I move on to Harshita or Shambhavi?
But you can carry on. Sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Shambhavi Mishra, please. Would you want to add anything to your take on it in the context of graduate students, water professionals, young water professionals? Shambhavi Mishra? Okay. Yes.
Yes, sir. Good evening. It was a very insightful session for me, as I was not aware of what all goes through the treatment and everything. And plus, it was a lovely narration because I enjoyed it like a story, and I was totally freezed to the screen to learn what is happening. So it was very, I gained a lot of knowledge. So thank you.
Lovely. How would you want to use it with students?
Shambhavi is our green ambassador. She is
Okay.
third year student. Yes.
Well, yeah, okay, herself. Wonderful. Harshita Shekhawat. Can you, before I turn to Dr. Gayatri, Harshita Shekhawat, you want to say hello? Okay. Gayatri, namaskar to you. Nice to have you here from the beginning. Would you want to speak? I know you had some interactions with Ravalji also. And as the dean of an important college of architecture here in Bangalore, I'm sure you have a take. Gayatri? Krishna, UV Rao, are you there? Can you say hello to us before I say something? Okay. They're all there, but anyway, anyone else who wants to speak or offer anything on the chat box? I don't see anything that has come up. No, I don't see anything on the chat box as questions or whatever. We have another, say, 7-8 minutes. Anyone else who wants to say anything at all here from among panelists or among the attendees? Yeah, someone has raised his hand, I think.
There are one question in question box.
There is one, okay. In the Q&A, okay. Great, okay, very nice. There is Chandra Watson. He's saying great opportunity to listen to Bhishma Pitama of water knowledge, Dr. Upendra Raval. Pranams, he says. Chandra, you want to speak? Do you want me to enable whatever? Harshita has already said what you want to say. It's not working. Okay, her question, Harshita Shekhawat's question to you, Ravalji. Why is the government not working on this kind of concept for introducing? And why is it that we don't have it as part of topics and whatever, a subject of learning in our colleges?
Hariji was telling me that make your presentation palatable to a layman. But politicians fall even below layman status. Now, how can we? You see, this is a very unglamorous part of the whole civil society. It is never going to be a highlight of a public agenda in election. So there is no funder, there is no politician to take. But yes, if this panel takes me to Delhi, NPM office, Namami Gange, NIUA, anybody working with water purification at large, I submit my availability voluntarily, willingly, without any condition.
Right. Vanita Ji of Sirutuli is here from Coimbatore. Thank you, Vanita Ji, for being here. Would you want to unmute and say hello to us? Yes.
Hello, Dr. Hariharan. Thank you so much. It was a very, very insightful presentation by Dr. Raval. I'm part of Dr. Raval. I'm part of a eco-conservation NGO, which is into water conservation. And we have been in existence for about 20 years. And this year, we realized we have to do something about sewage treatment. So we have started this project in a very big way to treat sewage. Like you rightly said, politicians, that's the last thing on their agenda. They are not interested in sewage at all. But if you tell them there's a pot of gold below the sewage, I'm sure they'll grab it. So how do we get that pot of gold to the politicians? because this is something which is very, very expensive, and it is an untrodden territory. So we are finding it very difficult. We'll be very happy if you can associate yourself with us and help us find a solution to our sewage woes.
I have 2 points to add to your observation. Thank you. More than government, I would hold functioning renowned bodies like NIUA, IGBC, IPA, and all award and certification rendering organizations. What are they doing? I have been locking my horn with them for last 10 years. Number 2, pandemic is temporary. It came, it scared, but it has gone in a year and a half or 2. Climate is a bigger problem, but it will go maybe 100, 200 years. Sewage is a permanent problem. And if we don't take it seriously, we will have to prepare to join the dinosaurs. There is no, I don't see any other fate of human being. And as a sewage student, I am scared that I am writing an obituary of mankind.
So true, Dr. Ravalji.
To those of you who don't know Mrs. Vanitha Mohan, she heads something called Siri Tuli, which is small drop and tunnel. She's Coimbatore based. She's done some phenomenal work, which has drawn the attention of many people. Her organization and the entire team worked on getting the Coimbatore administration and to look at the city's master plan in a way that it can recognize the water bearing capacity of the city. So she's done a tremendous amount of work out of a deep sense of modesty. She's not telling you about herself. Vanitha ji, since he's wonderfully running down IGBC and all that, Rajesh is sitting there in Coimbatore. You know him very well too. I should speak to him if it's necessary, but you don't need any help of that kind. I will certainly write a mail to Ravalji and copy you so that you can take this conversation forward and see how you can impact your city with some of the very basic, it might seem revolutionary, but it's very, very utterly simple things that he's saying. And I'm sure you will know how to lead it from there. Yes, Ravalji.
Sir, there is nothing revolutionary. Let me tell you, New York sludge was mailed down to Colorado. Then 6 years ago, it was a very distant place. So they started dumping it in Alabama. And within 4 years, Alabama sludge, due to sludge decaying, their public health and everything, so many issues were there. Then premature birth and miscarriages and all that. Pulmonary, even Mrs. Clinton, when she went there for her campaign, she came back with pneumonia. So microbes do not discriminate. At last, the governor of Alabama submitted an appeal in US court, Supreme Court, saying that you don't treat us as US citizens because 96% of us are black. So don't think New York as a treatment. Now, then you enter a rail poop train command, and you will see all that. Now, so if principally somebody throws a stone at me and I say that stone flew in the sky, it cannot happen, whether be it New York, Washington, Tokyo, or Singapore. The stone will come down if we understand gravity.
Sure. Apurva Shah is from Ahmedabad, and he's himself a consultant for water, a PhD consultant for many buildings. Apurva, you want to speak? Yes, please.
Munibhai, what is your take for design school or an educational institute, since you say everything is on the incorrect path?
Wonderful question. And I have a very short reply to that. They should stop teaching urban planning and sewage management. First learn, because I can't teach medicine to a medical school. If I have not studied medicine, how can I teach? Show me one urban planner having, yes, ecology is fine, but ecology is visible above the ground, which is aesthetics, appeal, styling, pleasant, entertainment. Nature is not here to entertain us, and pandemic has proved it. The secret of landscaping lies beneath the soil. How many urban planners have dedicated their learning to the root zone ecology? Because root zone ecology and colon ecology are identical.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes, the principles, nature does not discover new principle every day, sir.
Okay, but then show us a way how one can learn all these.
Wonderful. Dr. Hari has been doing it and allowing me to discuss the same thing for last 2-3 years. Dialogue, argue, disagree, maybe discomfort exchanges, but come at a consensus on scientific understanding of the whole thing. And once we arrive at a consensus, then we can go for a pilot project. And that pilot project, nobody will look at me or listen to me. That pilot project should come at an eminent institute. No IIT, no NIT, no design school, no urban planning school have sewage treatment plant worth demonstration.
Krishna, UV Krishna, are you there? Can you say hello to us? Can you unmute? Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Apurva. Vanitaji, let me turn back to you again. The same question on how we sensitize graduates of whether it's mechanical engineering or even of basic sciences in a way that when they step out and seek employment in broadly the building sector, let's say, what do you think they should carry as some very fundamental, not proficient knowledge, but some basic understanding of water and water management in a way that they can become useful for those jobs that they inhabit? Vanitaji.
Two main things, Hariharanji, is water conservation, because today the cities are just exponentially getting blown out. We need to conserve every drop of water. That's why we call it Sirutuli. Now, water conservation, rooftop water conservation is very much possible. That is something which is very fundamental, not your interiors and your exteriors. All that is, sorry to use the word shit. And how do you treat your waste? These are the two major things that apartments, office buildings, and gated communities have to do. Now, most of the rivers are polluted. They carry so much of sewage from the apartment complexes. Sorry to say, but it's terrible.
Well,
those are two fundamental things that they have to address.
Yeah. To those of you youngsters here who want to know more about this, let me put it this way to you. Vanitaji mentioned two things. She says rooftop harvest. She says treatment of wastewater in a way that we can reuse one half of it at least. What it means is that nearly 70% of the water that you need in your apartment, shall we say, or in your office, will be met without your having to seek tankers for water or some grid supply in your city. 70% of the water will come in. And the other is, one other thing I want to tell you is that if in your house, if you are say 1,000 square feet, all you need is about 18 or 20,000 rupees to be spent, and you'll get 1 lakh liters if you're in a city like Coimbatore or Chennai or Bangalore as water in a year. And if I take only 10 paisa, I know somebody mentioned about Chennai having no water at all. I mean, no cost for water at all. I don't know what it is that people pay in Coimbatore, but in Bangalore, we pay up to 10 paisa. And that 10 paisa means 10,000 rupees. In 2 years, you've got your money back. If you are in Haryana, if you are in Chandigarh today, you pay as much as 22 paisa. If you are an industry in Hyderabad today, you pay 28 paisa per liter. So you can imagine how much money you can make back with an investment of only 20,000, 18 or 20,000 rupees per 1,000 square feet. Please remember that, any of you. And if you want to ask any questions on this, please do. Yeah.
So you have Dr. Shivakumar in
yes, in Bangalore. That's right.
Who generates his own water. He doesn't have a corporation water supply at all.
And more important, Vanita ji, is that he had enabled when he was running the training at the rainwater harvest center here at the KCST, about 11,000 homes or 12,000 homes at that point. Today, the movement has gained so much momentum. The entire business of rainwater harvesting in Bangalore alone, there are some few people who are doing it. They have done over 250,000 homes, individual homes and buildings. I will say 250,000 buildings. So, and this is happening in many places. The cost is incredibly low, and with the return, which is as attractive as I detailed to all of you. So now anyone else who wants to speak? Payal Jain, do you want to say something? I mean, you know that Vanita ji was also one of our speakers earlier. Now we have Raval ji today. What is your take on what you have heard today? Yes.
Well, what I heard from Ravalji is quite shocking, if you ask me honestly. It's scary, it's shocking. And, you know, since everybody has similar questions, I just had a question for Ravalji that, you know, we have been doing those little handbooks, Doctor, like we did a plastic free and we did. Can we do something similar with help of Ravalji, a small handbook, which we can then upload and we can share with all the colleges? We have MOUs with 30 odd colleges. We can make sure all the societies get it. At least we do something rather than just talk about it. So if I could request Ravalji that PJMT we'll put a few students on it. We put together such a handbook and then we do as much as we can to circulate this information, because what he explained is in very simple terms. A lay person can also understand it. And, you know, if the gravity of it is expressed and the solution is given along with it, maybe it will make some difference.
Oh, that's music to my ears, Ravalji. She says that it was simple and that it was very easy to understand today.
Last week, 3 or 4 of us mentioned about IEC, information, education, and communication. If we eliminate education, means training children in schools, then it's a long journey without destination. We'll have to come out with something because it has to be inculcated in children. Somebody sitting there in Delhi and Yamuna form will not understand what we are talking. We have to start with children. I go to 5th standard, 6th standard municipal school with my own microbes, show them what are the microbes. My own microscope. I show them what is amoeba looking like, what is paramecium, and that's fun. We'll have to invest with children. There is no other way.
Ravalji, you'll be happy to know that we are now working on something specifically for school children, some such modules, age 6 to 18. In fact, we've been debating this last 2 months. Now it is on a roll where you can explain the basic concerns and talk about a sustainable way of life, and starting at 6, because we believe it has to be early for you to get a message to some extent. So we will ask your advice when we are putting that together also. Thank you very much.
I am working 26 hours a day.
I know.
You can give me a ring or send me a mail anytime.
Yeah, he'll do.
And I'll reflect.
Ravalji is a great soldier, Payal. Anytime, anything to do with water, we can ask him, and I will connect Vanita ji also. I'm so, it's so nice to have her here, and I'm so glad that she likes what he's doing. And the reason is this: she has understood over 2 decades the DNA of bringing such influence, a change at a city scale. And therefore, it's nice to have her here today and take it forward. Dr. Awadhesh, do you want to add more? Now that you have heard all these stalwarts, is there anything from the point of view of students that you want to add? Not only for your students, but for all students in general of engineering or architecture or urban planning. Awadhesh?
Yes, sir.
Yes, please. Would you want to add anything? Now that you have heard Vanita ji, you have heard Payal saying that we need to do, a simple manual of sorts. You heard the others. Any thoughts?
Yes, sir. I thoughts about the future is about to recycling or management of our water is very essential things. and upcoming futures.
Right.
So we need to work on this by all of your supernouns under your supervisions. So we'll continue and
Good, we'll do that. Good. We have anyone else who wants to speak up, or should we close? It's 4:25 now. We have spent, well, nearly 80 minutes plus. I should think so. Yatin, you have anything to suggest? Yatin Malik, thank you so much for doing all the wonderful coordination, Yatin.
Yeah, if we can take one or two questions from the Q&A box.
Okay,
Yeah.
wonderful. Oh, wow. There are a lot of, yeah, okay. Chandrasekhar, I'm in laptop, chat disabled. Chandrasekhar, mic. Okay, he says he wants to speak. Sorry, I didn't see this one. Yes, Chandra, you can speak now. Namaskar to you.
Yeah, it is in fact more and more convincing. Many number of times I listened to Raval ji, become an ardent disciple of him, and I think most of them will agree to that. Sir asked, many of them requested, where do we start? Maybe a small training camp or anything like that in person, or maybe if you can travel down, we will bear all the things. Somewhere we need to have a start.
No training. If you give us a building, you give us a school, you give us your house, and we will tell you what to do. It can even be done without any physical visits.
Okay. And will that be applicable to industrial sewage treatment as well?
No.
Wonderful,
That's
wonderful
different question. Yeah, that he can respond.
There
Thank you.
also, your principle of this biological oxygen and the aeration oxygen has no relation. I am also a chemistry graduate. I always applaud when you say that again and again. I am also not able to convince myself with this idiotic aeration happening 24 into 365. That is where all the energy is sucked in the textile industry, leather industry, and in the breweries also. If you can cut this whole crap, a lot of energy could be saved. So what is your quote on this, sir?
Wonderful question, Chandra Saab. I thank you. I reply like this. There is not a single industry on this planet. Now prove me wrong. The point is, I buy a cage of a guinea pig or of a bird and ask Hariji to fit an elephant into the cage.
Yeah, same question.
Technology, innovative, this, that. Industries must declare their water footprint first before any produce. And then how they are going to treat that water means the cage may be 10 times the plot of the industry. Which industry fulfills this?
Right.
You see, what nature has taken 4 billion years. We want an answer at the enter command on a computer. It is not going to happen. Yes, understand water, understand produce. I had this occasion with 3-4 members of Chamber of Commerce in Surat. I said, there is no industry in Surat. They felt offended. Then they said, what do you mean by industry? I said, I don't know nothing about it.
Okay.
But show me the water footprint of your 1 ton of chemical dye that you manufacture. And he said, what? What are you asking? I said, that's what. You are not running you are running a profit-making gambling casino.
Ravalji, a question from Jaideep Vora, interesting one. Can we use...
I'll just complete with Chandraji, just a thought. Organic content of industrial waste is very poor, but there are some chemicals. The microbial load is practically zero. And that difficult chemical decomposition is the obligation of the fungi. Fungi is the least understood microbe in the entire kingdom. Yes, sir. Hariji, you were saying something.
Fair enough. And we will do a chat with Chandra on this separately, probably, to see if there is any application that we can sort of work on. Jaideep Vora asks you, the SFS that we have after we, let's say, the septic tank, can that be converted to biogas? Simple question. You can respond to that.
No.
Okay. Go ahead. Explain it to him, please.
Okay. Biogas manufacturing requires some solid mass to start with. the methane generated, of course, human gut has no methane generating microbes. So there is a flawed design again. You have to bring cow dung. And cow dung has a particular fungi, which is, if I name it, Hariji will again shout at me that I am confusing, but I'll not say fungi A. Those fungi are not culturable. They are present in the ruminant stomach. Now, these fungi take 60 to 80 days to multiply and manufacture themselves. Then their soldier will be ready to attack anything you do. So any biogas unit first starting requires 45 to 60 days to begin.
So Ramji, if there is a septic tank and we have kept this, we have segregated the sludge, right? Now the rest of the water has gone. Now we have SFS. But the question to you is, can that SFS, what can you do with that SFS?
SFS can be used as a water that can be readily available to the vegetation in a wetland.
Yes.
All I said first that I started with a drop microclimate. In the principles of micro to macro do not change. Understand the principles of microclimate, and then we can surely take it up.
Okay, Jaideep Bora, I have enabled you to speak. If you want, you can unmute and respond to what he has said, or I can enable a separate conversation for you and Ravji. Jaideep Bora, please. Okay. Next question. Anyone
Secondly,
else?
SFS does not have acetate. Acetate is a 2-carbon molecule, which is heavier than water, and it settles down in the septic tank. So SFS contains lighter material, which is not C2 molecule. So C2 is the food for methanogens. Methanogen convert C2 into methane, which is CH for single carbon. So 2-carbon molecule is food, and 1-carbon molecule is excreta of methanogens.
Well, that's it. Yatin, I have addressed all those Q&A box concerns. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Udayan Shrauti. Well, I think that question got answered about writing a design book. I don't know if he'll write a design book. Well, at least and I must tell you all, he has got these extremely well drawn graphic kind of representations of many of these thoughts that he expressed today. He didn't put this up as part of his slides, but he's an amazing man. Constantly, dedication is a very poor, very, very poor word, descriptor for this person. Anyway, well, it's 90 minutes, 93 minutes. And if none of you have anything else to add, I think we should close.
For methane, you will have to go to sludge, not SFS. In short, I am giving you the direction to sludge is your raw material for methane, not SFS.
I'm sure Jaideep has more questions. He's not unmuting himself, but we will take it up if he does show interest and comes back to you, Ravji. Okay. My very sincere thanks to you, Ravji, for not this evening and the time you spent here, but for all the hours. I know you must have put in cumulatively at least 20, 25 hours. While it's amazing the amount of work he's put in. Every morning, he will send me something and say, now tell me, is this something that can go in there? Every day, without, I'm not exaggerating. And UV Krishna is here, but he's not speaking, as well as Vijay Kanda. Both of them also been helping him to try and see how we can make this as easy to communicate as possible. Payal, any words from you? We'll close with that.
No, just a final thank you. Thank you, Ravalji. And we will reach out. We want to do this handbook. We will definitely do this, Doctor. I'm not letting this go. So we will get started on it. And maybe in the next 3 months, we can have something ready to roll out.
Oh, wonderful. That's a lovely commitment. And Vanitaji, I'm committed. I've already sent to you. I'll send you his numbers, coordinates, etc., and send a mail so that you can pick up the conversation with him. Yeah.
Thank you, Hariharan. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for being here, all of you. Yeah, wonderful to have faculty leaders. I'm hoping you'll all gain and shape young minds to take to water and sanitation. Great opportunity here for anyone who is wanting to make a career in water. And career in water is big today in India. You've got 36 billion liters of water every day that is discharged. And we have a crisis is a minor word, but as Ravalji says, there's no crisis. We don't know how to manage water. That's all it's about.
Crisis is a proof of illiteracy, water
Exactly.
illiteracy.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend. Thank you so much.